If you have a lot of comments in your program, reading through every one of them is a tough thing. Looking at this in an Excel spreadsheet, there's better uses of your time. We have ways that, first of all, it's sort of easier to absorb. And then we have some tools to actually help you figure out what people are saying at scale, which is very exciting.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to PeopleMetrics Live. Today, we're going to show you 3 easy ways to quickly understand customer survey comments using the PeopleMetrics Experience Management Platform. If you've got questions for our team, please drop them in the comments below and we'll be sure to answer them. So here at PeopleMetrics, we send out thousands of survey invitations for our clients every day, right? And every day we get thousands of those responses back in real time. But what actually happens to all those survey responses once they hit our platform?
There's a couple of things that happen. One is that all of the quantitative answers, so questions that have a rating scale where you give a number, those all pull into calculated metrics in our platform. So Net Promoter Score, we calculate based on those answers. So any questions like that are pulled in and displayed. And then there are questions called open ends where respondents are able to leave comments. So they type something into an open text box. So we collect those and then we do a number of different things with them in the platform. And that's what we want to kind of show you today and talk through. So one way we look at them is in open-ended streams. So it would be a stream of comments from survey respondents that flow in. In our open-ended streams, you can do keyword searches. So if you are interested in something specific that is possibly being mentioned in your comments, that happens in an open-end stream, and you can keyword search. And then we have a couple of other neat things that we're going to try and show you that we do with open-ended comments.
It's great to be talking about open-ended comments. It's some of the most valuable feedback you'll get, and not having tools to figure it out is really frustrating and laborsome. And I'm excited to be able to show some of the ones that our clients use all the time to help them figure out what customers are saying at scale.
I know we're going to go into the platform in a little bit and talk about different ways that you can get in and analyze this open-ended kind of feedback. But Sean, I wanted to just quickly talk about how in your book, Listen or Die, you talk about, the subtitle of that book is How to Turn Customer Feedback into Gold. And I know in your chapter about open ends, you say specifically that open ends are gold. So I just wanted to have you talk a little bit more about that and why it's so important to be able to mine that gold from customer comments.
Yeah. So, it's one thing to know that a customer is a promoter or detractor or maybe a passive, and that's great. But without the open-ended comment that follows typically that question, you don't really know why people are promoters, why they're detractors, why they're passives. And what open-ended comments give you is that very, very important why. Why are people feeling the way they're feeling about the experience they have with your company? And it gives you context in terms of what you can do to move more people into the promoter category, how to avoid detractors in the future. It's an absolutely critical thing. But the hard part about it is, if you have a lot of comments in your program, reading through every one of them is a tough thing. And, looking at this in an Excel spreadsheet, there's better uses of your time. And we think we have ways that, first of all, it's sort of easier to absorb. And then we have some tools to actually help you figure out what people are saying at scale, which is very exciting. So that's kind of why that's gold. And I do write about that a lot, that it's the most gold that you're going to get out of programs. I think, Madeline, a few times I write that in that book, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, on that note, then, shall we jump into the platform and just take a look at some of these features that we've got to help you analyze and understand these comments?
Sure, I can take over here. So what you're looking at here is a dashboard of open-ended questions for a fictitious bank. And this is specifically about a banking experience survey. So somebody has some interaction with the bank and then they take a survey afterwards. And what's nice about this is that, we collect a bunch of open-ended comments from people, but we can do more with that than just store a bunch of sentences together. We will run text analytics on that information and bucket the data into topics and subtopics. So what you're looking at here is this person is clearly happy. We're able to kind of deduce sentiment also from what they're saying. So we can tell that, this is about the helpfulness of the branch. This is about the general account quality. And then down here we have someone was slow, maybe an employee. And as you get more and more of these comments and you collect more and more data of these topics and subtypes, now you can make reports on this kind of information, and you can aggregate this data.
RJ, maybe it's worth pointing out that the red means that it's a negative comment, right?
Yeah, that would be a negative sentiment, right? So you have green and red, and you can also have a neutral sentiment, something that's doesn't swing one way or another. Like, for instance, this is just a bank acknowledgement, or professionalism, attitude in the bank. Maybe what they said wasn't necessarily positive or negative, but that's still something that you can report on at the end of the day.
Hi, it's Madeline. Thanks for joining us for PeopleMetrics Live. If this is your first time watching, PeopleMetrics Live is a weekly live webinar session where experts from our team answer your questions about customer, employee, and patient experience, measurement, and management. And sometimes we show you how you can achieve your goals using tools within our experience management platform. We've been doing this for over 2 decades now, and this is a great way for us to share all of our knowledge with you. You can sign up for upcoming sessions of PeopleMetrics Live at www.peoplemetrics.com/events and bring a friend. So if you didn't have a feature like this, how would you actually go through and understand these, like this volume of comments, with thousands of responses coming in? How would you do that without a feature like this?
You'd just be reading through a lot of comments and making a lot of notes. So I'll show you one thing that's cool about this. Say I just showed you all these, as these surveys come in, this data is just automatically processed. So we have this information. And if we want to do an aggregate, we can do that really quickly and just pop up sort of a word cloud and see, the stuff in red that pops up shows you immediately the kind of things that you need to be drilling into and figuring out what's going on here. So in this case, branch is large, which means people have been talking somewhat negatively about a specific branch, and you can click on that and drill in, and you can read exactly what they were talking about and get to it immediately just by a few clicks here.
That's interesting. So the size of the actual word is that showing the frequency, like how many times that word is being seen?
This is just a handy, simple visual. So, this is for a banking demo. This is all, demo data, but they said the word bank a lot and we were able to tag that. So clearly they're talking about the bank, but branches, accounts, online experience, these are all things that you would sort of see pop up around a banking experience. And you can see right way down here, really tiny, somebody's, they're happy about the website, but not that many people are talking about the website.
Right.
So maybe you can glean some information from that too, really easily.
What I really like about word clouds for clients is that they're sort of the first line of defense and give you a really quick view of what's going on. What are people talking about? And then what is the net sentiment related to those topics or subtopics? And then once I see that, I'm able to easily drill in and say, oh, I see that bathroom cleanliness is really negative. Let me look more into that and figure out what's going on. So it kind of guides one in knowing what they should be looking into.
Yeah, another nice feature of this sort of open-ended data that you can see is you can drill in and see what parts of the sentence they were talking about, the general account, and how was their professionalism in a positive way. It's because they said the word courteous here, right? And so you can really quickly get to the root of even a large, if somebody writes a giant rant, you can drill in really quickly and figure out what it is they're actually talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing you might be thinking is there's only 19 comments, or maybe there's 100. I don't know how many there are, RJ, out of this, but do it yourself if there was 1,000 comments, or if there was 10,000 comments, or if there was 50,000 comments. And that's where this thing really, really shows its power in being able to scale to, an unlimited number of comments that you might have in a short period of time. Or, right, Audrey, I mean, we could make this years worth of data and combine it into something like this.
Definitely. Yep. And we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you need more information on any of these, you can always just pull up the full response there, and maybe there's another open-ended where they talk more about it, where you can get context around maybe one of the questions they answered.
What I think is so cool about this is the real-time aspect of it, right? That it's not, I know RJ, you were saying like you have to take a lot of notes if you were doing this without a feature like this. Or I know, if you're just relying on open-ended coding, that might be something that takes, if it's being done manually, takes a really long time for somebody to get through. Like I know, I guess Sean and Audrey and RJ, in your experience with open-ended coding, like how many comments can a human being get through in a day versus, how fast something like this works and is able to work through comments?
Humans are no match for computers.
Yeah, it's a good question, Madeline. A human could do this, but the problem is you have to pay that human to do this, and they get tired, and they're not going to be as accurate in hour 8 as hour 1, right? And
Right.
their performance degrades, and also you just can't have someone doing this all the time every day. It just is an impossible task.
Yeah, and I'd like to also mention, there is a human element to this. I mean, the
Mhm.
topics and subtopics that are popping up here that the computer is finding in these sentences, that's curated by us and by our clients.
Yeah.
And as the more answers we get in and the more we train this data, the more accurate that becomes. So you don't really lose that human element, but you're able to you put that into the system and make it just become more accurate over time.
So
Right,
it's kind of
exactly.
is learning from
Yeah,
you.
it's machine learning. Yeah.
That's really cool. So that it, can become more accurate over time. That's
Right.
great. I can imagine if as on the human side of it, you might experience almost the opposite, right? Of someone starting to just scan through and, look for keywords as opposed to something like this that kind of never gets tired.
Right. And the accuracy on these are, in the 80% range. They're not 100% accurate. It's for trends. It's to identify trends that you could never find with a human. And, you'll look at some of these and a couple of them might not make sense, but enough of them will where you're really being able to identify what's going on right now with your customer comments.
Yeah, the data, I mean, the training data that we release, that we publish and use for this system, it's accurate enough to be statistically significant in these reports that you have. So you will glean real important information from that.
Did you know that you can watch past sessions of PeopleMetrics Live right here on our YouTube channel? All you have to do is click the link above. Be sure to check them out for answers to dozens of questions, along with stories, tips, short tutorials, and best practices from our team of experts. Click the bottom right corner of this video to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. Yeah, and that reminds me of something we've talked about before, which is, the point of measuring and managing experience is being able to act on something quickly. So, if you're able to spot those trends and see, Audrey, like you said, something kind of ballooning up in that word cloud in real time, that allows you to actually take action and do that proactive management. That's such an important part of CX.
Yeah, and I think the real time aspect of this is really important, because you could have somebody coding, but it's going to take them a certain amount of time to do it. So by the time you get their feedback on coding comments, you already have another batch of comments that have been submitted. This way you train the model, and you can update the training periodically, but as comments can come in, they get tagged. So your word cloud updates, the stream updates, and you're able to see things in real time.
I don't think we were planning to talk about this, but I think it's worth pointing out that one of these says translated from Spanish, right? And that's another challenge of open-ended comments in other languages.
Yeah.
And our platform is able to translate these, right? And then also move them into the text analytics based on the English translation.
Right. One of the other things we do, as soon as we get data, as soon as we get comments, we'll process it. We'll pull out the analytical data, and we'll also translate it if we find it was in a different language. So you have the ability to scroll through this stuff. You can see it in the original Spanish here. and it will run the analytical side of things on the English translation. So you can actually glean and use, this one didn't have any, but you will be able to pull out information that you can report on even from things in other languages. There's a few in here. As you're scrolling, you can see it'll pop up and you'll be able to see which ones. The button down here will just switch it back and forth in case they wanted to read it in the original language.
Yeah, that's such a huge, I think, benefit because, quantitative questions from someone's entering, in Spanish, they're all numbers. So you're still understanding what they're saying, but when they're writing in their native language that you might not know about or might not know how to translate, having something like this, it automatically, first of all, translates it so you could read it if you want, and then organizes it into a text analytics kind of summary like this. It really just helps scale the experience that they're having for you to understand it.
Yeah, it's nice that they play together nicely. The other thing to mention here is, you can drill in with search terms too. So say, you had one day where you handed out free chocolate to everyone at the bank. You could see if anybody was talking about that. I typed that in the wrong place. And if it worked out really well, maybe you want to continue doing that. So you can drill it and find all kinds of information in here, and maybe make decisions based on that.
That's super cool.
So I think it's just important to note that all of these features are designed to make reading and understanding your open-end comments easy. So that you don't have to have a dedicated person who's sitting and reading each one, but that you're able to get to each one if you need to and quickly understand what's going on.
Definitely. And I love what you all were talking about, the fact that this can be trained means that it's always going to be an updated picture of either known areas of focus, whether like hot chocolate or giveaways or something like that, that you always know about, but then there can also be emerging, right, like new things that are identified by the system that can also be included in here. So no text analytics or open-end kind of program is the same, right? Client to client, everyone has their own special things that they're focused on, and that they're training this system on.
Yeah, very true.
I think we wanted to speak a little bit about, Audrey, about keyword. We just showed keyword search, but how about keyword alerts?
Yes, this is one of my favorite new features that we have. And there's not necessarily anything to see in the platform, but what we're able to do now is set up specific alerts related to keywords that people might put in their open-ended comments. So we're using some for COVID related keywords or cleanliness related keywords. But things like if people mention COVID or social distancing or masks, we're able to send an alert to a specified group of people that says, hey, please pay attention to this comment because it has keywords that you're interested in. So that's a really easy way to make sure that you're getting eyes on responses that have keywords that are important to you, which I think can be really valuable.
Yeah, and when those keywords are triggered, when them pops up, they'll all show up in the same place here. This is the alert section of our app, and so as these alerts come in, you'll be able to act on keyword searches. You can also filter and say that you just want to see the keyword alerts. Maybe if you have keywords, it'll be one of these things in the drop down. You'll be able to do that and drill in on and just get the list of all the keyword alerts that popped up and see what happened.
Yeah, and I can think of a lot of different use cases for keyword alerts. I think it's something that's going to become really useful kind of across industries because there's so many things that are important to know depending on what your survey is asking about. And this is a great way to get those survey responses in front of the right people.
Audrey, in terms of open-ended comments, how many do you think are, in terms of questions that people are asking these days, what's best practice in terms of number of questions to get the most from your customer? Because you don't want to overburden them, right, with lots and lots of questions that are open ends. You don't want to have an open-ended question after every question. No. Okay, we'll do another PeopleMetrics Live on just survey best practices, but please don't do that. Like, don't ask about You can do NPS and an open end, but then don't have another open end after the most recent experience, and then don't have another open end against was it easy to do business with us and an open end, or all these were we professional open end, because people will stop taking your survey.
Our founder and CEO, Sean, wrote an amazing book about customer experience management called Listen or Die, 40 Lessons That Turn Customer Feedback into Gold. It's a deep dive into best practices for CX measurement and management strategy based off of Sean's years of experience in the space, and you can easily read it front to back on an airplane ride. Pick up your copy today. It's available now on Amazon.
It becomes redundant after a time. People will tell you what they want to tell you. You need to give them the opportunity, absolutely. But after the second open end, it's unlikely that you're getting any new information. I would recommend an open end after either NPS or overall experience, and then another one after problem or recognize, depending on the respondent. And then I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to know about their overall experience and or NPS, right? That's one thing that everybody wants. But everybody would get that question no matter what. The problem question, you only get that open end if you had a problem, right? So at most, someone's getting 2, most people get 1. You'll get a lot out of the 1. The problem, you just have to know what's going on. And that's really rich, the customer comments typically on problems. They'll be very specific about the problem they had and what happened. And that's also very good to put in with these type programs. So another question, Audrey, just on comments. For this kind of text analytics offer that our clients are usually using, are they typically focusing on one open-ended question for all the comments, or are they combining open-ended questions to come out with this output?
Yeah, so we do run the text analytics on all open-ended comments, so across questions. We focus it usually by survey, because we train the model based on the survey itself, and we're usually getting similar types of comments where we're able to tag topic and subtopic successfully and with accuracy based on the survey.
And if you have a lot of comments, if you have a lot of questions, a lot of respondents, you could then start filtering these by your promoters and detractors and seeing kind of what are really your promoters saying about their experience that's making them love you. And then what are the detractors saying about their experience that makes them very unhappy with you. So, and then you can really start to dig into this, but that does require enough comments, right? For text analytics to really work. It's not going to work as well with fewer comments. Isn't that right?
Right. Yeah. You definitely want a good volume of comments. And I would say when it feels like there's too many to read every one, that's when you're getting into the right range of when you should start using text analytics. And I really love segmenting based on NPS. Your promoters, you want to know what are you doing well and how do we replicate that across more of the organization. And then your detractors, you need to know what the problems are so that you can address them. And certainly you should be following up with individual detractors, but when you're looking at things in aggregate like this, it will help you make decisions about things that need to be updated or changed.
And even the passives, right, Audrey? Like, to understand what are the things they're saying compared to the promoters, and what are the differences in getting a passive to get to the promoter range. By hearing what they're saying and listening to them and summarizing it and things like this, you can really you can put together a great action plan to move passives to promoters.
Yeah, passives represent a huge opportunity because they're so close to being promoters. So if you can figure out what's going on with them and make some small changes, you'll likely see an increase in NPS.
For everyone that might not know, maybe we should take a step back. We're talking about Net Promoter Score, which is a question that says, would you recommend a company to a friend or family member? It's on a 0 to 10-point scale. 9s and 10s are considered promoters. 0 to 6s are considered detractors. 7 and 8s are considered passives, right? And the Net Promoter Score is promoters minus detractors. So that's the Net Promoter Score. And that can range from 0, actually negative 100. That's a very, very bad score. That means you have all detractors, to 100, which would mean you would have all promoters. Usually the scores range somewhere between 20-ish to 60 for most companies. But the best ones definitely get above that.
Yeah, I like what you said about passives being an opportunity there too, because just like you said, Sean, they might not be part of the NPS equation, but it doesn't mean that they're not right on the cusp of being added to that promoter number just by making a few, changes by looking at your TA information.
Right. And just to wrap this up, I know we're getting to the end of time. That's why you really need to look at your comments. If you're not looking at your comments at all, you're really leaving a lot on the table. If you're looking at them sporadically, it's still not good enough. If you have a lot of comments, something like text analytics is really worth the time and investment. It'll pay itself back many times over. But no matter what you do, having a systemic kind of process to look through and make sense of open ends, so you understand, first of all, what's going on, and second, what you should do to improve the experience, is really the heart of voice of customer programs in many ways.
Definitely, because that's your true voice of the customer, right? That's the customer giving you their feedback in their own words. And using a tool like this to make sense of all of that at scale. Well, great, guys. I want to thank you all for this session today. And RJ, thank you for taking us on a tour through the platform to show all the different ways that you can use our platform to quickly understand those customer survey comments and get to the good stuff, the gold. And on behalf of everyone here at PeopleMetrics, thank you for joining us for PeopleMetrics Live. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe right here so you never miss an update. And have you checked out other sessions of PeopleMetrics Live yet? You can click right here to watch them all. I'll see you there.